What felt like a useless piece of advice until you actually tried it? Story 1. Not procrastinating for a test project. I usually cram for a project last minute and ace it. I am one of those laid-back students who can ace a test that wasn't studied for and remembers vital information easily. When I don't wait until the period before the test or the day before a project is due, it's amazing how much free time you'll have to do other things. Story 2. Stop chasing girls. Most times now they notice me as an individual, not as someone begging for a girlfriend. Story 3. Deleting Facebook. Actually don't miss it or the need to be connected to everyone all the time. I spend more time with my family and I don't feel the pressure to be perfect or living up to others' expectations. I also don't have to deal with all the military wife-based drama. Story 4. Do the practice problems in the textbook. You think it's a total waste until you actually try it, haha. Story 5. Teacher here. When you're texting, emailing between colleagues, friends, etc., don't put anything you wouldn't say to their face in writing. If you have it in writing, they've got something physical they can hold against you or gossip about. Even if the door is closed, speak quietly if you're going to vent. Your coworkers can probably hear you clear down the hallway if you're meanie after hours. Take it down to a whisper. CC your admin on every email asking a professional question to anybody else or in any conversation in which the slightest bit of conflict could arise. If you don't trust one of your coworkers, don't say a word to them beyond basic greetings. Trust your gut. Sit quietly in the lounge at lunch. If you think something is wrong, speak up. You probably aren't the only one to notice, and your voice does make a difference. Story 6. TLDR, homeopathic. Ito gives me a home remedy for a cough. Actually works surprisingly well. Oh, I have a good one for this. My MIL is a pretty hilariously stereotypical old German woman who somehow manages to be insanely well-educated, two law degrees, and also very much into charms and homeopathy stuff. She was staying over the holidays a few years back when I had caught a nasty head-chest cold that was just destroying me. Couldn't sleep, coughed all day and night to the point where I could barely talk, and was basically coughing up red from my throat being so raw, etc., etc. Well, she says that back in Germany, they do a hot neck wrap for curing bad chest coughs. What they do is they boil a scarf in some salt, garlic, and lavender water. Then you wrap the scarf around your neck and go to sleep with it. I am a pretty science-y minded person. My wife and I are both researchers. And so I immediately am like, okay, this is a crock of shoot, but I was so fudge miserable that I opted to try it. Really, I would have tried just about anything at that point. Holy crap, did I feel fudge fantastic in the morning. Like 100 turnaround, the painful cough was basically gone all night and only came back a bit towards the mid-afternoon and evening. It was such a massive 180 that I could hardly believe it. I wore it for another night, and after that, the cough was completely over the day after that. I've since used it, albeit without the salt, garlic, and lavender, whenever I get a nasty cough, and it works like a charm. Best I can guess is the heat allows your larynx to relax and keeps down some of the inflation, letting you cough less, which lets you heal faster since you are not tearing up your throat all night. I should also add that my MIL is not homeopathy for like cancer or essential oils, any of that stuff, just like for the little annoyances kind of ailments. Perfectly harmless, and she's a super awesome lady. Edit. I've been informed by a few people that this isn't actually homeopathy and is just home remedy type stuff. Sorry for the confusion. It's fascinating how different people can perceive the same situation in completely opposite ways. It really makes you wonder how much of our reality is just based on personal bias rather than the actual facts of the matter. Story 7. If you have body image issues, find one even very small thing you like about yourself. My starting point, there was a freckle in the middle of my left hand. Whenever you're feeling bad about yourself, remember you like that one thing. Find a new small thing to like about once a month if you can. It becomes easier to find things and eventually easier to like yourself, in my experience. Thanks for that advice, Mom. Story 8. Finish nice hot shower with 30 seconds in cold. It closes up your pores and reduces acne buildup. 14-year-old me really should have listened. Edit. Silver. Really thank you, kind Stanger, for my first silver. Since I'm editing in more, I'll add if you have a sunburn, a warm hot, whatever you can handle, shower will reduce the sting and help keep it from peeling. But it hurts like a meanie while you're in it, so be forewarned on this front. Story 9. Stop saying you don't have time for XXX. Instead, say XXX is not a priority. puts it into perspective and makes it harder to ward it off. Story 10. If suffering from allergies, buy local honey and eat it by the spoonful. I had moved to Tennessee and had never had allergies before, and once I got there, it hit me hard. A friend of mine said to go get some local honey. Normally, I would have just ignored the advice because I needed a guarantee fix, but I was desperate. Let me tell you something. Best thing of my life. My allergies were cleared in less than 72 hours. Years later, I'm now flying weekly for work to different states. My tradition is to always pick up local honey if I'm in a new place and add to my ever-growing local collection. That way I can just down some honey from the town I'm about to travel to before I fly out, and not even Georgia in spring affects me. Story 11. If you have to think about it for more than 5 minutes, don't do it. Kept me from going to a party where there was a fight around the time I would have arrived. Story 12. Your gums bleed when you floss because you don't floss enough. Turns out if you floss enough, your gums won't be inflamed so they don't bleed when you floss. Story 13. If you get a money as a present or a bonus and you're in the position to do so, spend it on an experience, not material goods or consumables. You will make memories that can last you your entire life. At 200B, I was given this advice on my birthday by my family. I ended up going on a trip with the help some money I had saved myself, and the amount of fond memories and wonderful people I met while I was away is something that will never leave me. Story 14. It's a chef's saying, but it applies to regular life as well. Prior preparation prevents piss-poor performance. Story 15. It's better to lose a second of your life than to lose your life in a second. People on the road need to just slow down a little. It'll save your life. Edit. Thank you for the silvers and gold kind strangers. Story 16. My dad always told me to be smart when dropping me off at elementary and middle school. It wasn't until I thought about it as an adult that I realized my dad, although educated with bachelors from a university, felt bad about his education and didn't want me to experience his regret. Growing up on a farm, his family didn't emphasize education. In moments where he needed to spell, reading, etc., we would laugh at him. My mom was a highly educated medical doctor, and I'm sure him felt inadequate. Story 17. Man is not worried by real problems so much as by his imagined anxieties about real problems. Whenever I find myself dreading something in the future, it helps to put that thing in perspective and take a step back. You can get out of touch with reality if you spend too much time in your own head. Story 18. Accept that you aren't for everyone, just like everyone isn't for you. I spent a long time constantly worrying about what people thought of me. If they secretly dislike me, were talking crap about me to others. Then I realized one day it doesn't matter. Knowing about it doesn't change anything, does it? I don't like everyone, so why should or would everyone like me? It's made me more confident, and it's easier for me to talk to people I don't know. Story 19. Men, stop cursing all the time. It's not funny or endearing. Those words lose their impact if you use them all the time. If they become a placeholder like, or then you just seem dumb and coarse. You don't need to say fudge, fucking, or fudge 6 times during dinner at her mom's house. Story 20. Instead of cramming for tests and exams, review your notes at the end of every day and add more notes. I did this in college and never had to pull an all-nighter. Story 21. Going to therapy. X200B. I'm a guy. I'm emotionally stable, so I thought it was a pointless idea. Went with my ex-GF in order to work out problems in our relationship, mostly on her end. I learned so much about myself and got some amazing life advice. 1010 bomb. Story 22. My grandfather told me this, and I never understood it until I had my own place. Always buy the cheap tools at first, and if you wear it out, break it, then you use it enough to justify getting a nicer, more expensive one. Story 23. That if you lead, others will follow, even if you aren't in a leadership role. If you want your roommates to clean the apartment, do it yourself. If they are decent people, they will see you making the effort, and you won't even need to ask for their help. The same goes for the opposite. If you're always late to work, and let's say your boss makes no attempt to penalize you for it, other people will see this and they will get lazy and show up late as well. The point is that you should always try to be the first to act if you want to make things happen with people around you. Throw out the resentment and take ownership over the things you want to happen. Others will follow. Story 24. When I was at the height of my high school depression, I would take forever to get ready to leave the house because I was always so afraid I wouldn't look perfect. Eating disorders are a meanie. One day my mom told me no one cares, and I was initially offended until she explained that everyone else is so caught up worrying that other people are judging them. They don't have time to care if your hair is messy. It was something that stuck with me as I started to get better. Story 25. Fans on my old MacBook died. Saw a YouTube video that said to simply take your fist and bang on the part of the computer that housed the fans. Thinking it was a troll, I gave it a shot out of pure frustration, and lo and behold, they purred back to life, and I never had another issue with them for the rest of the time that I owned that computer. Story 26. If you have super low confidence and self-esteem, you can start off the day with this bullshit-sounding technique. It takes a few weeks to start working, though. X200B. Every morning you say with the most conviction you can muster, I like myself. You repeat it 5 to 10 times as loud as you want. What really matters is sounding commanding about it. X200B. I thought it was a low to shoot until I started doing it, and eventually my inner monologue changed. Now my brain just compliments me a lot of the time. Story 27. Not taking your cell phone into bed with you. After a while, you will sleep much easier without the distraction and blue light shining straight into your eyes before bed. Story 28. Bite the head off the frog. My boss would say this all the time. So much so that I say it all of the time now. It means to do that which you don't want to do but have to do immediately. The early grind makes the rest of your time your time. I routinely do everything I dislike first thing every morning. Work out at 4 a.m., get to work, do all my reporting and communications, knock out any high-priority projects. This gives me the rest of the day to slack off. Story 29. Get up the first time your alarm goes off. I thought, no way I can do that. I snooze a million times. Well, I feel so much better if I just force myself to get up at the first alarm. Story 30. When you are in the desert or any very hot place, put wipes on your wrists and leg wrist things. It cools the circulating blood and makes you feel very cold. Story 31. My doctor told me when I feel anxious or something like that to wiggle my toes and count them for every wiggle. It is something that distracts your mind and you can do it anywhere because it just means moving your toes. Edit. I am fairly new to Reddit and I just got a sliver. Thanks, guys. Edit. SHSHDH. I got a gold. Wow, this is cool. I never had this before. Thank you guys so much. Story 32. When you hit that point in your run when you feel like you have to stop, don't. Your second wind is in there. My buddy forced me to keep going, and I was genuinely astonished at what I was capable of. It's stuck with me ever since. Obviously, this doesn't count if you're injured. Never try to push through an injury. Story 33. Giving small compliments to people right when you think it makes both them and you happy. Think that girl's skirt is cute? Tell her. Answer. I've actually made a couple of friends doing this. For those of y'all in comments above me wondering how to compliment girls without coming off as creepy, Puro tip, super simple solution. Identify what about that skirt is cute and compliment that specifically. I like that pattern on your skirt. That's a cool color. That way you're complimenting the person's tastes, not their form. Story 34. Get up and try to walk soon after having a C-section, and it makes recovery easier. Worked. First C-section, I struggled. Next one, I pushed myself to walk sooner. It was heaps earlier the second time, and that was even after being gutted vertically like a fish. Story 35. I got one of those keloid scars on one of my ear piercings. A really big, hard bump on the back of my ear. I heard that tea tree oil would make it go away, but it seemed so outlandish that oil would do anything. I assumed it was MLM essential oil nonsense. Went to the dermatologist, had it cut off. It grew back in a few weeks. Got it cut off again, grew back again. Dermatologist then does a cortisol injection. It went away for about a year, then reappeared one day. Tried putting tea tree oil on it every morning. Gone in 2 weeks. Whole thing basically peeled off in layers, which was disgusting, but very satisfying. My mom was not thrilled about having paid for all of those appointments when the TTO was 10. Story 36. Doing squats felt useless for a long time. But then I started doing something like a 100 to 300 bodyweight squats every day. That I wasn't sore, and guess who has legs? Now, I mean tree trunks. Too bad I never got to do it before pick. Story 37. Changing into your going out clothes instead of staying in pajamas at home will keep you more energetic. Dear Lord, it works. Game changer. Story 38. Putting cold water on freshly shaved skin will make it so you don't get ingrown hairs. Some of the best advice I've ever received. Story 39. This will get buried, but I hope it helps whoever does see it. When you burn your finger, whether on a joint or whatever, grab your earlobe. I'm guessing the cartilage sucks the heat out of your finger, but I'm not sure. All I know is that it works. Story 40. Pull up your socks, literally. When you're feeling flagged and weary and still have two hours left before you can go home, sit down, take off your shoes, and literally pull your socks up. I belittled this forever until I tried it. It's actually a nice little pick-me-up. Story 41. Just watch me read all of these and think that they're useless and never really try them times 200b times 200b times 200 bus, and even though I really need some of these. Story 42. When backing up a trailer, put your hand on the bottom of the steering wheel, then just turn the wheel in the direction you want the trailer to go. Boom, mind blown. Story 43. When you're trying to fall asleep and your mind is racing, thinking about a million things at once, making it impossible to fall asleep, do this. 1. Pick a letter of the alphabet. 2. Count to 8, 3. When you get to 8, think of a word that starts with your letter 4. Count to 8, again 5. Think of a different word that starts with that letter 6. Repeat ad nauseum. You'll distract your brain and bore it to sleep. Answer. When I can't sleep, I pick a subject and come up with an example for every letter of the alphabet. Repeat as necessary. Albania, Bahamas, Cambodia, Denmark, England, France, Guyana, etc. Apple, blueberry, cantaloupe, durian, elderberry, fig, grape, etc. Anchovy, barracuda, carp, damselfish, flounder, grouper, etc. Insomnia is a meanie. Edit, eel. Story 44. I use visual imagery to fall back asleep when I start thinking about stupid crap in the middle of the night. Just picture a large white board filled with all of your thoughts. Then picture your hand with an eraser, slowly wiping it all away. The thoughts have to stay on the board and get erased. If you start thinking of them again, you refill the empty section with thoughts again and slowly erase them. No thinking, just erasing. It works surprisingly well. Story 45. Clean as you cook, dishes right away, and 10 minutes every day walking through the house, picking things up, organizing. So much better than hours of cleaning on one day. Answer. Biggest game changer here. Prep your food. Start baking, cooking, boiling. Get on those dishes while it's cooking. Serve up the food. Immediately toss leftovers into storage containers before eating and get in soaking those pots and pans. Enjoy the meal. Rinse plates immediately before food cakes on and clean the remaining dishes. Clears up so much more time waiting for things to soak and scrubbing harder. Story 46. My mom told me to spend good money on the things that separate you from the ground. Tires, shoes, mattress. I finally bought good, not cheap shoes, and life was significantly better. They last so much longer, and my back and posture improved too. She's not wrong about tires and a mattress either. Story 47. If you feel like quitting, then just tell yourself that the story doesn't end this way. Sounds cliche, but you decide when your story ends, when you stop trying. You may fail, but you will not fail today. Don't let the story end this way. Answer. What if I was never interested in the story in the first place, though? Edit. I didn't imagine everyone would immediately jump to this being some sort of cry for help. The idea was more on the lines of not really caring about the end result of a project one might have been working on, not something as important as a life. The massive outpouring is appreciated, though. Story 48. As infuriating as it sounds, the whole just be happy thing really changed my view on life. Being depressed or down isn't something that is always under your control, but your own attitude is. I heard someone say happiness is a choice almost every day for over a year. Before one day I said, fudge it, let's give it a shot. It wasn't an overnight change, but it worked out for me. Story 49. Don't know about useless, but one of my favorite bits of advice is a bit of meta advice. Listen to all advice. Think about it. Try to apply it. If it works, great. If not, then you know it was bad advice. For some advice, that of course doesn't mean literally try it out. Someone tells you best way to hide the body is in front of the police station, then you can logic your way out of it. But be open-minded about advice. This works for any and every kind of advice. Personal advice, advice about your work, about your creative endeavors. Situations like these always seem to remind us that there's usually a lot more going on behind the scenes than what we see on the surface. Life rarely follows a simple script, and this was a perfect example of that. Story 50. Drinking water. I use it to get sick a lot. Usually blamed it on allergies and stuff. My recent lady friend told me I'm never drinking enough water. My new goal is a gallon a day. I feel so much better now. Story 51. Building and maintaining a personal network. I've always been shy and not suave in social situations, but 3 years into my professional career, I've known people that have new job opportunities with excellent promotions from knowing people. Story 52. Think positive thoughts before you go to bed. Seems like inane horseshit, but darn if it doesn't positively influence sleep, which influences life. Now I have a whole post-sleep relaxation routine, and the shoot that has improved in my life is amazing. Story 53. Keeping my shoulders back. It was a suggestion I saw for preventing panic anxiety. I DK what it is, but when your shoulders are in that position, it gives some strange feeling of control. I also read somewhere that during panic attacks, the body basically wants to curl into fetal position for protection. So I feel like focusing on keeping your arms down and shoulders back is a conscious way to go against that and stay grounded in reality. Works for me, could work for you too. Story 54. Stick to the same sleep schedule on your days off that you follow on days when you have to be somewhere at a specific time, like school or work days. I spent my whole life sleeping until noon on weekends, thinking I was storing sleep in some imaginary sleep bank. I recently started waking up early on weekends, and now I don't have trouble waking up when my alarm goes off during the week. Plus, I have all this extra time to do stuff because I'm not sleeping all day. Answer: you can't bank sleep, but sleep debt is a real thing, and you can indeed recover sleep. What you say is absolute true for general purpose sleep hygiene. Sticking to a schedule 100 of the time is a major boost to adequate sleep. But at the same time, if you're one of those people sleeping 3 hours a night during the week or less, you're better off sleeping in on the weekend. Yeah, your best bet is to simply tell people to stop having such a devastatingly unhealthy sleep habit, but I've found people are going to power through anyway. So sleeping in on the weekends to recover can at least counteract some of the damage they're doing all week. Sometimes the most unexpected outcomes come from the smallest, most quiet decisions. It's one of those moments that leaves you thinking about the what-ifs long after the story's over, regardless of who you think was right. Story 55. Tide-to-go pen. Thought they were stupid. Tried one yesterday after spilling on my t-shirt. Mother fudge worked like a charm. Wow, change man. Answer: I was literally a cheap college student, and one time there was a Tide bottle that was at the laundromat lost and found for weeks. I happened to have run out of my El Cheapo wash liquid and borrowed a cup. I put $1 under the bottle. That wash was the freshest laundry I've ever smelled. I've bought Tide and Tide Pods ever since. It's more expensive, but immediately worth it. Story 56. When I was a kid, I was getting bullied by an older kid on the playground. The teacher asked me, "Well, have you asked him to stop?" I thought it was the most asinine thing I'd heard in my 6 long years on the planet. But in a move I still use today when talking to tech support, I went ahead and did the thing they asked, even though I knew it wouldn't work, just so we could move on to the next step quicker. So I saw him one day playing tetherball with his friends, and I walked down to him. I then asked in front of the other kids in his grade, "Hey, can you stop chasing me and my friend? We don't like that." He shrugged and said, "Okay." He never picked on us again. No more wrist locks, no more having dirt thrown at us, no more being chased around the playground. I actually missed it once I realized I wasn't going to be bullied anymore. Story 57. Wash your dishes immediately after using them. It really helps avoid unnecessary clutter and you ending up like this. Story 58. The instructions say so. Rinse rice before cooking. But why bother? It's going to get wet anyway, right? Rinsing the rice washes away starch and makes it fluffier, tastier. Story 59. Win the day. Once I started focusing on the things I needed to accomplish that day and said fudge tomorrow next week and next month, I realized that all that was taken care of by winning the day. Story 60. Changing something about your appearance to gain confidence, self-esteem, getting a haircut, going to the gym. I thought it was a cop-out piece of advice, and then I got a haircut, and I felt so comfortable in my skin and at peace that I remember the exact moment it happened. Story 61. When I was planning to move into my first apartment, my dad gave me advice for how to handle sticky money situations with roommates. Instead of buying things for the house on a rotation or paying each other back, avoid the problem from the beginning by setting up a house fund. The way he suggested doing it was getting a jar or something and each putting a certain amount of money into it, 20 each to start, for example. Then whenever someone had to go buy toilet paper or soap or anything that everyone would be using, they could just take the money out of the jar and hopefully remember to bring back a receipt. When the money ran out, everyone would put in another 20 or however much you decided on. I never actually used the advice. I only ended up living with one other person, and we split everything evenly anyway. But I thought it was a pretty clever way to avoid conflict with friends over money. Story 62. My PS4 controller was not charging. Looked at the internet for a solution and found an answer saying I should blow air to the charging port on the controller. Thought this was stupid and ordered another one. After it arrived, I said, why not try the solution anyways? Now I have two working controllers. Story 63. If you have nausea, suck on an ice cube, the nausea will go down. Source. Mom. Always listen to your mom, people. Story 64. My dad always says this about eating in moderation. If you eat only small amounts of something in one sitting, you'll be able to eat it for longer in your life. Such a good advice which I follow every time I am offered anything, sweat, salty, or fried. Story 65. When you feel like crying, pick a random word and think of as many words as you can that rhyme with it. Distracts your brain while you get your emotions back in check. Works for me every time. Story 66. If you get water stuck in your ear, tilt your head so the filled ear is aimed towards the ground and hop on one foot landing on your heel. It usually clears in a hop or two. The longest for me was 5. Thank you, James Clavel. Tip is taken from Shogun. Story 67. To stop drinking pop soda. I didn't think it would make much of a difference, but when Andrea gave up smoking for New Year's, I said I'd stop drinking Coke. I've lost 25 pounds without changing anything else I do. Story 68. Stress costs money. If you have a stressful job, for example, you will spend more money on mental health care, shopping, massages, junk food, whatever you need to relieve your stress. It's worth it to switch jobs, even if you make less money, because it will likely balance out. I didn't think this made any sense until I left a bad relationship and found that it was suddenly a lot easier to manage my budget. In reverse, I also left a good job for a stressful one and found that even though I was making the same salary, it was a lot harder to manage. Now I constantly evaluate the cost of stress in my life and what I can do with my money to try to avoid stress, because the benefits will compound. Story 69. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say nothing at all. People don't want to hear, ew, yuck, you like that? When referring to someone's food, for example. Story 70. Life is really much easier if you clean your workplace room. I clean my room often and it makes me feel calm and clears my head. Answer. It's so true. When I used to be very depressed as a teenager, I'd never clean my room. Like ever. These days, when I'm getting into a depressive rut, it might take a couple weeks before I even notice my room is starting to get really messy. Once I realize I clean it, then there. Even if I really don't want to, it really does help me feel a hell of a lot better than beforehand. Story 71. There's what you need, there's what you want, and there's what you can't afford. My dad says this all the time, and I never thought of it as useless. I just never used it. Now I have, and my money is far easier to manage. Story 72. Go to bed at a decent time, sleep for about 7 to 9 hours, and wake up early. This is especially helpful for athletes, and as per Joe Rogan's podcast with the neuroscientist, men who sleep 5 to 6 hours a night will have a level of testosterone 6 to 10 years their senior. If you're getting 6 hours of sleep or less, your time to physical exhaustion drops by up to 30. One study showed a 60 increase in probability of injury comparing people who get 9 hours of sleep a night to those who get 5. The less sleep you have, the lower your peak muscular strength, lower your vertical jump height, and lower your peak running speed. Lactic acid builds up quicker the less you sleep. The shorter your sleep on average, the shorter your life. Short sleep predicts all-cause mortality. Navigating social boundaries can be incredibly tricky, and this story is a clear example of how easily lines can get blurred. It's one of those cases where there isn't necessarily a right or wrong answer, just a lot of complexity. Story 73. Leave your shoes by the door. Sounds obvious to people from certain cultures or climates, but it was never part of my routine growing up. I had some Asian roommates and was astonished at the knock-on effects this little habit has for cleanliness and comfort. Story 74. You need to push yourself to break through your anxiety. Me. What the fudge do you mean, push myself? What do you think I've been doing? Makes me miserable. That's what you need to push through. It's the truth. Push through it. Fight as hard as you fudge can and don't give up. Cry your eyes out when you need to. Scream when you need to. Just push. Fight. Also, if life seems pointless, just devote yourself to anything. Answer. For the most part, yes, but I think it's also important to know that sometimes it's okay to give up, quit. For example, I was enrolled on a post-grad cause that was causing me so much stress, and anxiety on top of my other life pressures that it was making me ill. I eventually decided it wasn't worth it and left the course. No regrets since. It was the best decision I could have made for my health at the time. But I was so afraid of being a quitter and giving up, it took me far too long to get there. Story 75. I suffered severe insomnia for years. Someone told me I should get up an hour earlier, go for a 30-minute run in the morning, then do yoga for 15 minutes before showering and getting ready for work. Seemed ridiculous, but I decided to try it for a month. Haven't suffered insomnia since. Have way more energy, sleep better, feel better. It's amazing. Answer. I went to a sleep doctor today. He gave me the following advice to start improving my sleep habits. 1. Don't go to bed unless you are tired. Don't set a specific time in which you need to go. Doesn't matter if it's 1 a.m., etc. 2. If you haven't fallen asleep within 20 minutes of being in bed, get out, go to another room and read or clean or do something else until you are tired. 3. Wake up at the same time every single day. Doesn't matter the day or the plans. Same time. 4. Within 30 minutes of waking up, go outside without sunglasses for 30 minutes. If you live in a place with minimal light, you can get a light box. My dog is going to be super stoked on this. He also gave some other advice, but I wanted to keep this somewhat short. Day 1 for me is tomorrow. I hope this can help others. Additional instructions in no particular order. 1. Your bed is only for 2 things, sleep and intimacy. Keep it that way. This means when you wake up in the morning, get out of bed. Don't chill and wake up or read the morning news. Don't get in bed before it's time to sleep to do work or read. 2. Only take naps between 12 p.m. and 2 p.m. Try to limit them to 40 minutes. Set an alarm to get yourself up. 3. If you wake up in the middle of the night and can't go back to sleep within 20 minutes, same as above. Get out of bed and do something until you're tired. 4. Pick up blue light blocking sunglasses. At the very least, put them on when you wake up in the middle of the night and can't fall back asleep, regardless of activity. Ideally, wear them an hour or 2 before bed, especially if you're watching TV or on the computer. You can order custom frames with or without prescription from a retailer, and it will be $300 to $400 US, or you can find whatever style without prescription for $40 to $50 US 5. Try to avoid eating or drinking before bed. I don't drink caffeine, I am overly active with exercise, and I don't keep screens in my bedroom. We didn't touch on these topics as it doesn't apply to me. For me in particular, I struggle with sleep due to several factors such as ADHD, bladder urgency, and nightmares. We are ruling out sleep apnea. Based on my history, it's highly unlikely I have it, but we want to be sure I don't. The whole process is designed to learn positive sleep behavior. I am on short-term prescription anti-anxiety meds to aid sleep. The goal is to get me off those, find the root of my issues, and correct. Under his practice, he is not opposed to supplements or prescriptions. However, he wants to follow a process that corrects behavior first before medication. In his professional opinion, he does not feel medicated. Sleep is as beneficial for the body, particularly because the majority of any prescription substances used for sleep causes memory loss. Behavior changes are much more difficult, but are better for your health long-term. For my case specifically, we're trying to avoid medication for the nightmares, but realize it may be necessary. The bladder issues just throw another obstacle in the sleep process. Good luck, everyone. Edit, added more instructions from doctor and information about my sleep issues. Story 76. An extra few minutes spent now will save hours in the future. Better known as do it properly the first time. Story 77. On my wedding day, my grandmother said to me, never do anything around the house that you don't plan on doing for life. At the time, I thought it was a terrible advice. When I was mowing the lawn at 12 months pregnant, I got what she meant. Story 78. Shower before bed instead of in the morning. Looking back, it's gross that I would get into bed dirty. Story 79. Love is a choice. X200B, the hormones, newness, and infatuation of love is great, but it doesn't last, and it only works on the few people you love. Choosing to love my wife, my kids, my neighbors, my coworkers, and the random people I meet, even when I often don't like them, makes life so much better. I treat others so much better, and I like myself so much more when I choose to love people because they are worthy of love rather than try to love myself and be a crappy person. Story 80. Keeping a water bottle beside your bed to drink as soon as you wake up in the morning helps to decrease the drowsiness. It works wonders and helped me to wake up in a chilly Monday morning. You guys should try it. Story 81. Aim while shooting for FPS computer games like Counter-Strike. Sounded like the lamest, most Captain Obvious advice ever. Until I actually started purposefully aiming the crosshairs with care, even in the midst of a hectic firefight. My limit jumped 3 times or 4 times. Story 82. Instead of saying, "I'm sorry for being late," or something, say, "Thank you for being patient." Didn't realize the effect that could have on people. And instead of putting yourself down, you bring another up. Story 83. Poking the side of your head to hit the save button to remember important information. It triggers muscle memory, I think. Story 84. Honestly, just do it when I hesitate talking to girls. What's the worst that could happen? You get a no and move on might sound dumb and simplistic, but after you convince yourself of that and do it once, the other times won't seem so scary. Story 85. Try mindfulness. Suffered with anxiety all my life, and just relaxing sometimes and clearing my mind works wonders. Story 86. Choose your reaction. It's a thing from 7 Habits of a Highly Effective People. What it boils down to is nobody can actually piss you off. You have to react in a pissed off manner to the situation. It doesn't always work because things like a passing in the family are going to make you sad or whatever. It has helped me at work, though, to realize that no matter how stupid the person I am dealing with is, or how nasty they are being, I can choose to not go to that level. I can choose to stay factual and deal in logic. What do I know, though? Story 87. The app down dog. I'm at the height of finals right now, and I tend to spend my time off studying on Reddit or gaming. So I made a point of just doing a 30-minute yoga practice during my study breaks instead of going straight to my computer or my phone, and it helps me clear my head way more than being focused during my off time. Story 88. Do everything you have to do ASAP so you don't have to worry about it later. I've been doing this in my adult years, and it's such a sigh of relief. Sometimes I just do whatever I'm supposed to do out of this habit. Then later on I realize, oh, okay, I got to do. Then I see that I already did. And it's literally the best feeling ever. Feels like you're the best partner for your future self, lol. Story 89. Befriend those little people. The janitor, the delivery guy, the server, and the dishwasher. You never know when they might pull your jerk out of the fire. Story 90. Give up caffeine to help with anxiety. I gave it up to help with my vertigo years after this was first suggested to me, but it did help. I'm still anxious as fudge, but I'm not reacting to it like a hummingbird on cocaine anymore. Story 91. When you need to include your age in a comment post, don't say I'm years old and say when I was years old, regardless if it's your current age or not. There are weird people out there. Could save yourself from a number of situations. Story 92. Tie your shoes properly. If you have to tie your shoes more than once in a day, you're doing it wrong. It has to do with the way you tie your first knot. You can tell that you did it right if the bow when you're done is horizontal, not vertical. I've been doing it wrong for 30 years, and when someone pointed it out to me, I just brushed it off and said something like, I just double knot it. Story 93. Stop using your phone so much. Such a cliche until I installed an app to prevent me from using my worst time wasters in excess. It's like I finally figured out why there are some humans who get everything done while I never could before. Story 94. Stand up straight with your shoulders back. Treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. Make friends with people who want the best for you. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today. Do not let your children do anything that makes you dislike them. Set your house in perfect order before you criticize the world. Pursue what is meaningful, not what is expedient. Tell the truth, or at least don't lie, and assume that the person you are listening to might know something you don't. Be precise in your speech. Do not bother children when they are skateboarding. Pet a cat when you encounter one on the street. Thanks, JP. Stories like this one don't always provide a clear resolution or a happy ending, but they certainly give us plenty to discuss. It's interesting to see how many different layers there are to unpack when you look at it from a distance. Story 95. My father bought me my first car and told me, this is not a present you are going to pay me back every cent I have lent you. I am going to be your bank manager instead of you having to take out a bank loan. I was 17 at the time, and he was as strict could be with my on-time payments of the car. If I missed any, he was going to take the car off me at intervals that increased for each time I missed a payment. And at the time, not only did I think his advice was useless, I started to resent what he was doing. Fast forward roughly 20 years, and the advice and what he taught me along the way with the car helped me pay off my home loan by the age of 40 and set myself up for early retirement. I never did miss a payment with the car or the home loan. My father is no longer with us, but it still makes me smile the way he guided me with financial advice without me ever realizing at the time what he was doing. Story 96. Counting down from 10 and taking deep breaths when stressed or angry or deciding if you want to punch someone. Story 97. My mom and I are quite poor. Not like homeless poor, can't pay bills, but more like can't afford some stuff sometimes or running out of money. She always used to say, happiness does not come from money, but from people around you that love you. You will find out when you are older. I was 6 at that time. This came from a mom who had a bad background, became a teen mom, lost that child a few hours after it was born, had another child a year later that was extremely disabled and epileptic, had an autistic child 8 years later, me, had a tiny house with my dad, got evicted, moved into my nan's house, got physically harmful behavior by my other nan. When she found out about all this, got cheated on, had to move into a special home, having to look after 2 disabled children, and having severe anxiety and depression, and always seemed happy even with all the shoot that's happened in her life. I never took that seriously because all my friends were rich and meanie and caused me to belie them. Once I was about 8, we went into the Disney shop, and I saw something that was 100. She said we can't afford it, and I was really annoyed at her, had a tantrum, and screamed, all my friends are rich and have money. Why can't you be more like their parents and actually have a job instead of sitting at home all day doing nothing? I stormed out of the shop, and when we got home, shut myself in my room. I didn't talk to my mom for 2 weeks. I'm now 12 years old, and now I'm realizing money really isn't everything, and I've stopped talking to those friends. I have new friends that love me for me, and a mom that loves me no matter what, and I love her as well. I now accept that me and my mom can't afford everything and accept the things I have instead of the things I want. The reason my mom doesn't have a job is because she needed to take care of my disabled brother and she wouldn't have time to do that with a job. She didn't actually sit at home doing nothing. I just thought that because most of the time I saw her, she was sitting down. It was because my brother or I didn't need her at that time. Just remember, money isn't everything. Story 98. Slow becomes smooth, and smooth becomes fast. If you don't learn the fundamentals of something, you will not have a solid base to build your knowledge from. You must walk before you can run. Story 99. When single, date yourself. I always perceived this as a way to selfishly indulge yourself until I realized that what it means is I should be treating myself the way I would treat the person I'm dating. So yes, this does somewhat mean indulge yourself a bit, as in go to a movie you want to, or go out to a nice dinner once in a while. But also, it means treat yourself nicer in the way you think about yourself. Forgive yourself for mistakes and learn from them. Be patient with yourself. Think about the stuff you do, and if it's something that you'd give someone else a break for, then give yourself a break for it. Also, think about things you'd be hesitant to do, like learn to dance or go for a trip somewhere, and do that. Invest time in yourself, and you will begin to attract people who see you doing so. Story 100. If you have a clogged nose, doing 8 to 10 push-ups will temporarily clear it up. Edit. Hey, thanks for the silver and the gold. Story 101. When in a heightened emotional state that you need to calm down, like anger, anxiety, or something, take 3 deep breaths. If you are standing, sit. If you are sitting, lie down. If none of that works, wash your face with cold water and try again. Story 102. I had a problem looking at people's shoulders while they were speaking instead of their face. I told a coworker my problem, who said, well, just look at their ears. Nobody can tell the difference. Life-changing. Seriously, no one can tell the difference. Story 103. Shop at Aldi's. My mother-in-law has been all over me for years about this. I finally buckled tonight and spend about half as much as I usually do on groceries. Darn it. I'm not telling her. Ever. Answer. Growing up, my mom would bring us kids with when she went to Aldi. I dislike it. It was looked at as a poor person's store. Fast forward 15 years later, and guess who knows all the employees and skips her happy, money-saving jerk to Aldi twice a month? They've made leaps and bounds the past few years, but there are a few things I still prefer to buy elsewhere. However, those chocolate-dipped, crushed candy cane-coated mint patties I can only find at Christmas? Oh yeah, I'll be Aldi's meanie for those. Story 104. Be vulnerable. My therapist encouraged me to watch this TED Talk by Brené Brown. When I first heard that, I thought something along the lines of, well, that's stupid. That's how you get hurt. Now, a year later, I feel much closer to the people important to me, and rather than being hurt, I've become much more open and happy in all areas of my life. Story 105. When fighting, clap your hands once loudly. The sudden noise will shock and confuse attacker long enough to hit or get away. Do martial arts people laugh at me when I mention it, then they try it. Don't laugh after. Clever fighter has better chance. Story 106. When you're stressed, make a to-do list. I was always like, I know what needs to get done. I just can't do it all. But if you write it down, it doesn't have to all live in your brain and you can focus. Story 107. Dress for success. Started wearing a suit at work and got treated with more respect as well as promotions. Story 108. Make your bed every morning. From an admiral speaking at UT, I believe. It means no matter how shoot a day I'm having, at least I've accomplished one thing. Story 109. Get dressed up when you feel shoot about yourself. You don't even have to go anywhere. It's an easy way to practice some self-care. When my depression is bad, I will just sit around the house with a full face of makeup on and a fancy house dress. And since I took the time to do it, I feel like I did something just for me, and it feels like a huge victory. Story 110. Just don't drink or use one day at a time. 6 years, 9 months later, still clean and sober. Living a life I never dreamed of. Story 111. This is gonna sound so dumb, so I guess I'll share. I used to work in outside sales, going business to business, trying to get them to change their business phone service. I was fresh out of college with basically no sales experience. So I was looking to pick up some tricks on how to avoid the typical fudge off, get out of my shop that I was getting regularly. I had this guy Keith training me at the time, who was a total slimeball AK, A-grade at sales. One day he told me, you gotta not talk to people straight on when you're trying to sell something to someone. Too intimidating. If you feel some pushback, turn your body a little and relax. Lean your elbow on the counter and just talk to them. They'll forget you're trying to sell something. I spent 4 years of college learning business tactics and etiquette, and nothing has helped me more in face-to-face sales than the old turn and lean. Literally makes no sense, but store owners stopped looking at me like a salesperson and more like just another dude. Story 112. Just shut up and listen. Actually listen. X200B. Too many people don't know how to just listen without thinking that they have to add to the conversation. No, just stop. You don't have to add anything. You are not helping. You aren't even paying attention to what is being said because you are thinking of what you can say. Story 113. My dad, don't marry that woman because she has mental issues. I listened. About 3 years later, I found out she was on trial for take down her husband. Story 114. When I was young and dating challenged, I heard from other guys that it was simply a numbers game, that you need to put yourself out there and try. Reeling from repeated rejections, I scoffed at it, particularly since I passed it off as some machismo alpha male PUA advice. What I realized was that it was good advice delivered terribly. Yes, technically it can. Story 115. Wait, why am I talking? As a manager and from numerous seminars, training courses, development days, motivational talks that you do as you progress through the ranks, the most valuable one was when someone comes up to you with a problem or wanting to get something off their chest. And it can be a normal reaction to just start saying, shoot, like, oh, I've been through that. What happened to me was, but almost always, they aren't there to hear you talk about your problem, but need someone to bounce or vent off of. And so it's important to stop and use wait and ask yourself, why are you about to say something? And is it really valuable or applicable in this context? Or is it just a way to fill the gap where it's your turn to talk? Are you listening or just waiting for your turn to speak? I'm not saying just stand there and not talk, but to identify when it's best to assess the severity of a situation and how to be mindful of your words. You'd be surprised at how often they'll solve their own problem just by saying it out loud at you without any input, and you'll gain respect for being available and actively listening. Story 116. Taking pills with tea or hot cocoa is a lot better than taking it with water. I've always been really bad at taking pills. So when I need to take one now, I make myself a cup of tea and it makes the pills go down without me even noticing. Story 117. Tinnitus. A friend showed me this. Cover your ears with your hands and flick the first 2 fingers of each hand off each other so one hits the back of your head. It instantly reduces the noise. Incredible. Story 118. When driving, use your turn signal even when no one is around. It's better to have that habit all the time then forget to do it and cause an accident. Story 119. When you are trying to catch a fly or mosquito, hold your hand right in front of your face and approach it slowly. It won't fly away. I have no idea how this works, but it's freaking magic. Story 120. Don't worry about things you have no control over. Stuff like a delayed train used to cause me a lot of anxiety, but it's completely pointless. Story 121. The 5-minute rule. If you have something you need to do and it will take less than 5 minutes, do it right away. See a book that needs to be put away upstairs. It will take less than 5 minutes, so do it. It is shocking how quickly this will make your house tidy. Story 122. Cleaning your house before leaving for more than 5 days. Nothing is better than coming to a clean house. Answer. Yes, also make sure there's a day or two between coming home and going back to work. My husband and I take 2 vacations every year. One for 4-ish days, the other for 2 weeks. I make sure the house is deep cleaned and all the laundry is done. It's incredible to come home and unpack, throw dirties in the wash, and relax in a perfectly clean house for 2 days before going back to work. Story 123. Getting a present for your partner, but have no idea what to get. Move 50 or however much you are hoping to spend into your PayPal. Tell partner you got them a present that you paid for with PayPal, and say if they can guess what it is, you'll give it to them as soon as it arrives. They'll now give you a list of the things they would like to get as a gift. Buy one of those items using the PayPal money. You're welcome. Story 124. Pretty much everything my therapist has said to me. 1. Holding ice cubes and feeling them melt in your hand to combat anxiety. A way to make yourself present. 2. Writing down 3 things you're grateful for, wins if you will, on a daily basis, helps you realize even on the worst days there is still something good that has happened. San. Finding something that you're passionate about and making it a point to incorporate it into your life on a regular basis. Seems obvious, but IDK4. No one cares after a certain age, so just be yourself, and even if they do care, why does it matter? Story 125. Collecting cargo using the Oppressor MK2 and GT, a online toy, ramped up my cargo collection by 20 to 25. I was already using the Buzzard, a pretty fast chopper, already with good weapons. The OPMK2 is a godsend in comparison. Story 126. Mashing your face into your pillow and sobbing uncontrollably is a good way to spend your weekends. Times 200B, my brain. Story 127. That forest app. It grows a tree for up to 2 hours, and during that time, you can't access any apps you think will distract you. If you want to open a distracting app, you'd have to eliminate your tree. All your trees, dead or alive, appear in a little forest. I have always had trouble motivating myself to focus on homework and not look at Reddit, YouTube, but this app is just enough guilt to not open them. I haven't eliminated anything yet, and I'm surprised at how much I can care about a small virtual tree. People told me about it, and I just completely assumed that I'd never use it or it wouldn't work for me considering how distractible I am. But it works wonders. Story 128. Exercising helping with depression and anxiety. It's not a cure-all, and I needed to be on meds to get to the point where I could do it, but it really does help me. I've been off my meds now for over a year, under doctor's supervision. Don't stop taking your meds unless you run it by your doctor. And when I can't exercise for a few days, I can feel the depression and anxiety coming back. Now, instead of going through a million things I did wrong in my head, I run for 3 miles or lift some heavy shoot. Story 129. Flip a coin and choose the one you're hoping for. I don't even have to flip a coin now, and I'm way more decisive. Answer. And if you still can't decide, go with whatever the coin said. If the 2 choices are that neck and neck, it's better to just pick something than spend time agonizing trying to pick the right thing. Also, if you just pick something and it turns out wrong, that's a great learning opportunity. Then you'll have more information next time you make a similar choice. Story 130. My grandfather gave me a piece of worldly wisdom when I was 13 or so. He said it in a joking way, but as I've gotten older, it's rang true. He said, "Son, 3 things will give a man problems in his life: money, women, and whiskey. If you don't have a problem with one of those things, then you don't have a problem." I wish that ornery old cuss was still around. Story 131. Relationship advice I got once. Don't just act like you're in a relationship. Act like you're on the same team. Works a charm. Everything seems easier to accomplish and more fun too. Feelings get hurt less, and we communicate more. Sadly, I often only remember this advice slightly too late. Story 132. Admit it when you're wrong. Initially, it's tough, but you receive a ton of respect and goodwill back, especially if you compliment the person who was right. Swallow your pride and do it. Nobody likes pig-headedness, but someone who can admit they're wrong and listen to a different point of view will go far. Story 133. That app on the Apple Watch that has you breathing slowly. Most of the time, I lowers my heart rate, aka a basic human anatomy but can be handy. But twice so far, it has spiked up to 120 when I tried it. Turns out I couldn't breathe properly. I was struggling to get to sleep and figured I was at the point I would give it a go. Until I focused on it, I couldn't realize one of my nostrils was totally broken and I was struggling to breathe. Adjusting my pillow fixed it. I have some allergies and some other medical shoot being addressed, so it's not just a quick fix for a potentially serious problem that is getting ignored, but holy moly, having it track my heart rate while I did it was so helpful. I probably wouldn't have got it to sleep without it. Nothing big, but, I figured it was just one of those things that lowered your heart rate while you do it, but not much else. Story 134. In regards to dating, you'll find someone when you're not looking. Sounds like total BS, but it's proven true for me a few times. Edit. This also assumes that you go do social things sometimes. This absolutely will not work if you just sit at work home all day. Story 135. For gamers, play games that have a beneficial AFK element in-game. Then whenever you need to do some AFK stuff, spend the time it takes cleaning your house. Started playing Black Desert Online on Xbox. My house has never been cleaner, and I'm doing it so regularly that it's becoming a habit, and when I'm all caught up, I nap. It's like I tricked myself into taking care of me and my place with games. Easily the best life change I've made this year. I'm productive in-game, at home, and I'm well-rested. 1010 highly recommend. Story 136. 1 minute rule. If you can do it in less than 1 minute, do it now. You'll never have an empty toilet paper roll again. Story 137. Saying you're welcome instead of no prob or any slang version of it. It's more of a subconscious thing that makes people feel like you put in extra effort, making them more grateful towards you and generally boosting their opinion of you. Story 138. When you are trying to pee at the urinal and you get stage fright, recite your social security number backwards in your head. I usually don't even get 4 numbers in before the floodgates open. Story 139. I'm an avid tennis player, and when my dad told me that once you didn't worry about the losing, then I would do better. Currently 12-0 after he told me that. Story 140. Drink less caffeine. I didn't realize how much it affects my mental disorders, anxiety, depression, ADD, until I started drinking less and realized I function way better when I don't have a soda or two every other day. Edit. A lot of people are saying it could be the sugar, but I always have diet soda. I will admit that sugar and soda, diet or not, aren't healthy, but there shouldn't be sugar in diet soda. Edit 2. My parents both have caffeine sensitivity, so I probably have really high sensitivity. Like, even if it's 1 soda for 3 days, the first day I stop having soda, I get a headache. Story 141. Put on your own oxygen mask first. You can't help anyone effectively if you're not okay yourself. I was always self-sacrificing, to the point of being hospitalized for exhaustion. I'd always been told to give till it hurts and then push through the pain to give more. And so that's what feels natural, and anything else is pure selfishness. A great therapist told me that I'm good at helping, but I have to be at least at a baseline before I'm effective. And oh, it makes everything so much better. Story 142. When I was complaining about my wife for the 700th time, my friend said, "If she's so awful, why not just divorce her?" It was good advice. Story 143. This too shall pass. On those days when I just feel like I can't take it, I think of that, and I know tomorrow will be different. Someone once told me, tomorrow may not be better, but at least it'll be different. In a strange way, that too is comforting. Story 144. Remedies for depression. Exercise. Getting out of the house. Eating more healthily. They all sound like dumb advice, and I think a lot of depressed people will try them once or twice. Notice it does fudge all, and think, ugh, what shoot, condescending, overly simplistic advice. The key is doing that stuff consistently, though, and it does help if you stick to it. The problem, of course, is the sticking to it when you're depressed. Story 145. If you have those annoying tiny gray balls that get stuck to clothing, use a dry razor to shave it off. Save so many items of clothing. Story 146. Dress your best when you feel your worst. I made this one up, but it works wonders when you're depressed. Story 147. Consider those three qualities in a thing. One, my mom, the thing is quick, efficient. Two, the thing is beautiful. Three, the thing is cheap, not expensive. You can only have two of those three qualities. Never the three at the same time. This advice apply at work, when shopping, when writing the scope of a project, etc. For the purpose of this post, think something you buy or that you make or that you hire someone to make. Story 148. Eat within 2 hours of waking up. Your next meal should be no more than 6 hours after that, and then your final meal should be no more than 6 hours after that. It sounds stupid, but it made a huge difference for me. Story 149. Trying to lose weight? When going somewhere in your car, try and park as far from your destination as you can when you can. I read this tip somewhere else when I was at my heaviest and really trying to lose. Every morning, instead of taking the first spot available at work, I'd take the farthest one back. I had to trek a bit to just get to the door, then through the office and upstairs to my cube. It felt good whenever I did it, and it put me in this mode where I wanted to do other healthier things throughout the day. I went from 385 to 220 in about a year and a half after I started adapting those baby steps, among many other baby steps, of course. Story 150. My dad has said this particular piece of advice for years. Your health is your wealth. I quit a job that made me utterly miserable last summer to travel. I saved for months to do it. My savings were low when I came back, but I felt better than ever. Money will return, time will not. Story 151. Don't go to bed, leave the house with dishes in the sink. I thought this was dumb until I lived alone. I never had to do dishes in order to eat or cook because I had already done them. Thanks, Dad. Story 152. Reading is fundamental. Seriously grown jerk adults will go out of their way to ask questions with the answer literally in front of them. Paperwork at work. How do I do this? Did you read the instructions at the top of the page? No. MMK, get in trouble with the boss about something? Did you look at the policy handbook? No? Well, you're both technically in the wrong. New household item. What do you mean you don't see why the can opener has a magnet on the side? Didn't know you had that option in your car? You mean you didn't glance through the manual for the 30,000 purchase you just made? Bet you put the wrong gas in it too. Fudge Reddit's not hard to tell genuine information from legal BS and safety warnings. This turned into a bit of a rant. Story 153. I have some bad anxiety, so here goes this old gem. Stop caring so much what others think about you. I always thought this was useless, bad advice, until I started to actually embrace what it meant. It sounds easy to do, and it isn't, but it became one of my mantras I'd repeat to myself a lot. Wound up making me really realize what other people think of you doesn't really matter or define you. Wish I had been able to believe it sooner than I did. Story 154. Everyone told me about the importance of networking when looking for a job when I was younger, and it felt useless. When I thought of networking, I thought about schmoozing people at a wine and cheese event, and it just wasn't me. Turns out, networking can be as simple as building and, more importantly, maintaining relationships as you get older, and it's been extremely important in my career development. I now won't even consider applying for a job if I don't have some sort of connection through my network. Story 155. Be yourself. The less you care what people think, and the more real you are, the more people start to like you. Story 156. Spend a lot of money on a mattress, they said. It'll be great, they said. Couldn't afford it until I bought the house. But darn if they weren't all absolutely right. 1010 would splurge again and will in a few years. Story 157. Yoga, as silly as it sounds. It makes my joints feel so much better, and I don't feel so old when I wake up in the mornings. Plus, I'm almost as flexible as I was when I was younger. Story 158. Nothing gets you over the last girl like getting onto a new one. It's really true. Heartache evaporate like a fart in the wind when you meet someone new. Story 159. Before you open a can of drink, especially one that is super carbonated, tap the top of the can a few times beforehand so that it doesn't spill at all when you open it. Seriously, no matter how much you shake it, you just gotta tap and it won't explode at all when you open it. You're welcome. Story 160. When my first was born, my aunt told me, if you don't know what to do, if they won't stop crying, if you're falling apart, if you're losing your sanity, dance like a pineapple. Made zero sense until he was about 4 to 5 months old. I had a broken arm. He had gastrointestinalitis, explosive diarrhea. Neither of us had slept much. He wouldn't stop crying. My aunt's words sang in my head like some goddamn epiphany. Worked. You thinking this is crazy talk. Just you wait and see. Story 161. Spend more to save more. It's better to buy a higher priced, quality item one time versus a cheaper item many times over because it keeps breaking. Story 162. As someone with a phobia of needles my entire life, I finally, 30 years in, had a nurse tell me to ask for a spare adult beverage pad and sniff it right as I'm about to get jabbed. She said the harsh smell is enough of a distraction to keep your mind off the needle. I was there for a flu shot, so I got to try it out right away. I wasn't expecting much, but it worked. I've been doing it ever since and have no trouble with shots or blood draws now, which is huge for someone they've triggered panic attacks and near fainting in before. Edit. Thank you for the silver. Hoping this helps everyone as much as it helped me. Explain it to the nurse who's doing your shot blood draw too. I always do, in hopes that they'll remember and use it next time they have someone who struggles with needles and pass the knowledge along.